Hello everyone, this is Remlays from 40k Theories, and welcome to the June 2018 edition of the Patreon Q&A sessions. As always, if you'd like to support this channel and become a patron, and have your questions answered, click the link in the video description below. Now, let's jump into these questions. Brent Feast asks, we both know that Slaanesh is much more than just a god of sex and torture. Do you know of any sources that do a decent job of portraying this, other than the Demon's Codex? Funnily enough, one of the better sources for this would actually be the novel Fulgrim. Because when the entire Emperor's Children Legion starts to become corrupted by Slaanesh, you have some of the civilians who are tied to the Legion, like the artists, the musicians, etc. They start becoming more depraved, like there was the painter who started using her blood and fecal matter in her paintings. I know it's disgusting. And then there's Bekwa Kinska's concert, which ended up summoning a bunch of demons. When the concert stopped, a bunch of Emperor's Children Marines were like, no, we want more music, we want more music. They stormed the stage, ripped up the musical instruments, tried to play them, and that's how Noise Marines were created. So that's probably one of the better sources to explain the inherent range of corruption that Slaanesh entails. Ulberic asks, do you know of any Xenos races that worship chaos, apart from the Saruthi and the Silith? Well, the Lair for one. Bear in mind, the Silith are not wholly chaos worshippers, though there are some Slaanesh worshipping Silith. Any Xenos race, any race can fall to chaos, they can worship chaos. I mean, we've got documented instances of Nurgle worshipping Orcs, Khorne worshipping Orcs as well. I think there was at least one Tzeentch worshipping Orc at one point in time as well. The novel Farseer has the Demon Prince Shah-Hagarthan, a Demon Prince of Slaanesh from before when Slaanesh was born. Figure that out. Warp shenanigans. They were a Demon Prince of Slaanesh, an Eldari Demon Prince of Slaanesh. Any race can worship chaos. It's not just exclusive to humans. Any race can. Diego Flores asks, the composition of Primaris squads seems similar to how squads functioned in the Great Crusade. Could this be a greater indication of Guilliman foregoing the Codex and preparing to create units similar to the great companies of the Space Wolves? Or at the very least make chapters be similar to the current strength of the Black Templars? It's certainly possible. Guilliman himself has been documented as basically admitting that the Codex Astartes didn't work out as intended. So, it's certainly a distinct possibility. Zero Hits asks, typically how well do Space Marines and Sisters of Battle get along? Depends on the order and chapter, mainly. Sisters of Battle tend to get on better with Space Marines who worship the Emperor as a god, like the Black Templars. In regards to chapters with their own traditions and their own variations on the Imperial truth, you know, like the Space Wolves, for example, they tend to be a lot more hostile towards them. Not necessarily to the point of conflict, but they will be less friendly. Now, there have been instances with certain chapters and certain orders getting along absolutely fine. The Imperial Fists seem to get on absolutely fine with the Sisters of Battle, and vice versa. I can't imagine the Sisters of Battle taking kindly to a chapter, say, like the Flesh Tearers, for instance. Mace Gray's Tempest of the Imperial Fists asks, assuming the Chaos Gods are killed, would their respective emotions stop being elicited by living races? No. Also, would their demons be removed in their entirety from the warp and in real space? It depends if they were erased from existence or just dead. If they just died, I can imagine small pockets of demons surviving, just feeding off the emotions that empower that one particular god. If they were erased from existence, then yeah, I can imagine all the demons of that particular god going with them. How do Sisters of Silence travel through the warp without messing with navigators? Navigators are typically kept in sealed chambers away from the Sisters of Silence. The novel Watchers of the Throne actually has a scene with a Sister of Silence on a ship in the warp, so they can travel through the warp, just keep them away from the navigators because they'll start bleeding from their eyes and nose and have immense headaches. Now that Primeras Marines have hit the mainstream, can we expect existing Astartes to receive the extra gene seed organs? Funnily enough, Games Workshop, the Warhammer TV Twitch streamers, they put a thing out ages ago saying that regular Marines can be upgraded to Primaris, but we've seen nothing of that in lore. I've even asked a few Black Library authors. I asked Gav Thorpe, Josh Reynolds, and Robbie McNiven if they knew how the process worked, and none of them did. So I don't think they can. The closest we've ever received is a Dawn of War 3 DLC that gives the Primaris Chaplain skin to Diomedes, but that's it. Why is it that Dreadnaughts have to be used on damaged Battle Brothers? Are there any cases of uninjured Astartes being placed within a sarcophagus? In Rogue Trader, Dreadnaughts were essentially just mech walkers, at least in the core rulebook. In regards to why it has to be an injured Astartes, the sarcophagus is a life support system. Basically, an apothecary goes to an injured Marine saying, "Your wounds can't be treated, you're gonna die in about 30 minutes. Do you wish to serve the Emperor?" "I wish to serve the Emperor." Plug him into a Dreadnought. That's basically the reason. Assuming that Farsight and his enclaves remain undestroyed, how open is the Imperium to interaction? And would they be willing to work with the Eldari? The Imperium working with a Xenos Empire, even if it's a small one. Yeah, I don't see that happening. I can see individual Inquisitors working with the Enclaves, at most. I can't see, say, an Imperial Guard regiment or a Space Marine chapter ever doing that. In regards to the Tau and the Eldari, I don't know of any interactions between the Tau and the Craft Worlds. I know they've interacted with the Drukhari because the Drukhari saved them, and in return wanted, 10 of every caste and then turned them into a bunch of grotesques. Is it possible to change the mind of a Titan machine spirit? As stated in Hell's Reach, both Oberon and Storm Herald are innately violent, as most war machines are. With enough coaxing, could they be shown to be more wise, controlled, or even peaceful? Well, machine spirits are semi-autonomous. They have been shown to become extremely hostile and aggressive to strangers. When the Night Lord ship The Covenant of Blood got its new navigator, it was shown to be incredibly violent and hateful towards her. Over time, I can imagine the machine spirits growing more accustomed to the Princeps. In regards to them being peaceful, I doubt it considering it's a war machine, but over time their machine spirit nature can change of their own accord. They can become more accepting to a pilot that they were initially very hateful towards. Heather Gocchioso, and I hope I pronounced your name correctly, asks, is there any lore that you absolutely hate or think is the stupidest thing ever? Pretty much everything in regards to Rogal Dawn's fate. I will be doing an updated video in that regard, so stay tuned. In other bits of lore that I find incredibly strange, the news that Korax can turn into a cloud monster and an entire flock of ravens. That was very, very strange. For those wondering the source of that, it's in the story Shadows of the Past in the Sons of the Emperor anthology. Brent Feast again asks, the audio drama Perfection includes a scene where a group of Emperor's children Chaos Lords talk about how they fought at the gate together. But I thought all Emperor's children fucked off to slaughter defenseless civilians rather than fight. Does this mean that not all of them did so? We'll get the answer to that for definite with the upcoming Horus Heresy novels when they detail the Siege of Terra. If the Emperor's children had stuck with the plan and actually helped at the Siege of Terra, would Horus have won? His chances would have certainly increased, but whether he would have won is a different matter altogether, but his odds would have increased a lot. Felix Argyle asks, in the last Q&A you referred to my room as crazy. Why must you hurt me? Get back in the kitchen, Felix. If you could name ice cream flavours after factions, how would you do so and what would it be? I don't bloody know, Felix. I know corn would be blood orange flavour. Imperium would be vanilla. Orcs would be mint. I don't know. I don't know. Christopher Cole asks, are there any other platforms you will be posting videos to in case YouTube gets ban happy with 40k content? I did used to post to VidMe, but that site shut down. So I probably will in the future if I can find another suitable site, just as a backup. Heather Gochioso again asks, in your personal opinion, if the Primarchs, strictly hypothetically speaking, had wives before the Emperor came, who would most likely have had them? Funnily enough, Fulgrim actually had multiple wives for political reasons. It's detailed in his story The Palatine Phoenix, and he even admits that he loved some of them. In regards to the other Primarchs, I could see Guilliman have being married at some point for political reasons, because he's the big political mind, so Guilliman might think, it's practical that I marry this woman to establish peace between this nation and this. Yes. Russ I can imagine having a wife. Same with Khan, coming from a more primitive/barbaric culture. I can imagine them having wives as a status of office, essentially. Lorgar, no. Angron, no. Perturabo, no. Who the fuck would marry that grumpy bastard? Rogaldorn, I doubt it. Korax, maybe. Vulcan, I don't know about Vulcan, because he was, he was more the kind and gentle blacksmith more than anything else. I imagine Vulcan would be more concerned with protecting his entire village rather than just one person. Ferris, no. Magnus, I doubt it. I'll just leave it there for now. Voice of the Emperor asks, if someone were by some Emperor-given miracle able to get every Orc into the warp and have them begin fighting the forces of chaos, could they have a chance to challenge the ruinous powers? I doubt the Orcs, regardless of how many of them you have, would be able to take on fully fledged gods. I think only Gork and Mork have that chance. I mean, yes, Gork and Mork are said to be some of the strongest gods, period. But it would still be 2 gods against 4. 5 if you include Malice, but Malice is just, doing his own thing, chilling in the corner, relaxing all cool while shooting some b-ball outside the school. But I don't think so, no. I don't think so. Kaylee Williams asks, have you ever thought about getting your old band back together again, and are you guys still friends? We're still on good terms, but we don't really speak. It's not so much a falling out as just, natural drifting apart that people do, so I don't think it's likely. I'd like to do one last gig at some point, though. That'd be fun. Do you like slippers, or are you a walk around the house barefoot person? Barefoot. Assuming multiverse theory is correct, do you think the warp would be a contained element within the 40k universe? Or would it be a type of connective fabric between it and several other universes? It already is. We know that the warp connects Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40,000 between it. We also know that the warp connects 40k to Age of Sigmar, thanks to the Khaldor Drago Knights of Titan story. We also know that 40k is connected to Dark Future through the warp, because in one of the Dark Future novels, I think it's Comeback Tour, the one with Elvis Presley as a bounty hunter, don't ask, there's a church, and the people in that church are worshippers of Tzeentch. Now, bear in mind that Dark Future is set in the far future of 1997, where everything's like Mad Max. So we know it's not part of the 40k timeline, because 1997 wasn't Mad Max. So, yeah, the warp does connect multiple universes. Mace Craze again asks, do guardsmen bury their dead? It depends mainly on the regiment in question due to differing cultural beliefs upon each world. Some do, some burn their dead, some leave their dead to rot, and some just take their dog tags and knives and, tie the dog tags around the knives and plant the knife in a little garden, as a little reminder of who they've lost. So it depends on the regiment. Luke Welsh asks, if Alexis did succumb to Magnus's advances, who would be the dominant one in that relationship? I don't bloody know. I don't know, I'll say Alexis. I'll say she'll just bully Magnus. And finally, Caledon Victus asks, what's the difference between a Kassakin and a Tempestus Scion? Not much, to be honest. They're both stormtroopers, they're both better armed and better equipped than typical guardsmen. The main difference is probably because Kassakins are recruited from White Shield regiments, child regiments, and they've been fighting since they were kids, so they probably just have more combative experience. And that concludes this month's edition of the Patreon Q&A sessions. If you'd like to have your question answered, and support this channel by becoming a patron, click the link in the video description below. Until next time, this has been Remlace from 40k Theories, and we'll see you again soon.